Hello, and welcome to another amazing RSG podcast episode. Um,
What?
Unfortunately, it's just going to be me and Roby today. Ryan has contracted the plague,
Yep. That's code for herpes.
and he's not going to be able to make it today. Again, write all your angry comments to him. We'd appreciate it if you give him a hard time.
Yeah. He needs to know that no one likes him.
Yeah, everyone let him know he's not missed. Okay, so
Like,
we got some stuff to talk about today. Um, some stuff in some news, some media news. We got the new Deadpool trailer, as can be seen on the screen there. So a little screenshot
yep.
from the movie poster, and
Yep.
well, you know what? Let's just go. Let's just get right out the door with this one, Robbie, because I was really excited about it.
Uh. Okay. I've never been a big Deadpool fan. Just never
Right.
have been.
Because
That's
you're not you don't know how to comic, right?
right. Yeah. Because I appreciate other comics that were made other than just like the '90s when everybody had tiny feet and 900 pouches, and this Deadpool is faithful to the comics in that he does have a shit ton of pouches. Like,
He
what does he store all those pouches? What are they for?
Well, that's the nice thing about Deadpool. Nothing has to make sense.
Yeah,
Honestly,
okay. No,
I mean, it's
granted.
Deadpool. He
But
could literally just be wearing those pouches
Deadpool,
because they are pouches.
Deadpool, though, is just another victim of this symptom. All characters in the '90s had pouches.
Well, pouches are pretty important.
They all had pouches of stuff.
Where are you gonna keep your
But
chapstick, bro?
that being said, I don't know. Maybe just leave on your desk at home and get to it when you need it later. You know what I mean?
You know why they have pouches, bro?
Maybe. Why do they have? Because they're really kangaroos?
Have you seen those suits? Ain't got no pockets, bro. No pockets.
Granted, but Zaki's really needs to carry around a bunch of shit. But anyway, despite that, I enjoyed the '90s feel of the trailer. Okay, because I am a '90s guy.
90s,
You know,
90s kid.
that's my jam. So, I enjoyed the salt and pepper song in the trailer.
Me too.
I did. It was good. It added like a nice '90s flair, good '90s vibe to it. I enjoyed the '90s jokes about Posh Spice and Rosie O'Donnell.
Yep.
Because let's face it, those are '90s jokes.
Those are 90s jokes.
But and like I enjoy that they're sort of doing the whole thing with a '90s flair, because Deadpool's a '90s comic book character. He really is. He's like the quintessential example of '90s comic book characters, I think.
Yeah, he was like a parody of the 90s is what he was when they created him.
Right.
You know?
And this appears to be more of that, you know?
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, really.
Right. So overall, I'm for it. Also, we got to see a nice picture of Colossus. Looks like he's done right.
Yeah, he looks
done good.
Really good.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to see Colossus on screen for realistically the first time.
Yeah. Like they had one of the Colossus in the X-Men movies for a hot second, and it was terrible. This Colossus looks fantastic. He looks like Colossus. Hopefully, he moves well and is really awesome.
Yep.
You know, I'm actually very excited for the Deadpool movie. I'm a little sad that they changed the opening sequence in the trailer from the concept video they did originally. I like the concept video sequence a little bit better, only because I like the fourth wall breaking for Deadpool. That's like one of my favorite things.
Right.
They took it out and like, I really want to put this line in here, but how do we do it without breaking the fourth wall? Screw it, break the fourth wall, man. That's what Deadpool does.
Right. That's what Deadpool does. Right. That's what makes Deadpool Deadpool.
I like the concept sequence better, but I still really like this one. I mean, I didn't dislike this one. I just like the concept one a little bit better.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, this is good. And I've seen both the red band version and now the green band version as well.
I've only seen the red band version.
No, that's not true.
I only remember seeing the red band version.
No. Okay, well,
That's 100% true.
I can't attest for your for your knowledge of a remembrance, but when we went to see Fan 4 Stic last night, we saw a Green Band version. The same trailer, a lot less blood, no swearing. Most of the same lines.
That's terrible. I honestly don't even remember that from last night. I didn't know that was playing.
You were definitely there, and they definitely showed the Green Band Deadpool trailer.
No, I would definitely believe you, but I also definitely remember not paying attention to the trailers.
That's a fair point. There were not a lot of good trailers, but Deadpool. Back to Deadpool. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go see it because I go see everything, but
I have to go see it. I mean,
this made me a little bit more excited for it.
Yeah, like you have to go see it. I think you just got to know what to expect, and it looks really fun. It just looks really, really fun, funny. Deadpool's a great character, and he's done some pretty significant shit in the Marvel universe. So, I think he's worthy of a movie.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say on that subject.
That's all there is to say, man.
Talk a little bit about WoW. Yeah, so World of Warcraft, the digital drug that's been breaking up marriages and relationships for the past 10 plus years.
Yep.
Is coming out with a new expansion. And I guess before we get into the nitty gritty of the expansion details and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, well, let's talk about the whole, like, how WoW just keeps making me want to come back. And how they manage to do that every time.
I don't know. I can't speak for you about this one because this one does not really make me want to come back.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, this is fascinating then. Let's talk about that then.
And I mean, Warlords maybe want to come back a little bit, but not that much. But like the further away from it I get, the more I'm like, no, that doesn't look that interesting to me. You know what I mean? Like, I think they really jumped the shark with Warlords and the whole, like, we're time traveling back to a different alternate dimension or whatever. Like, okay.
You feel like they did it with the Warlords and not Pandas?
And now with this one, Pandas bothered me also. It did. But this one bothers me more than Pandas did. Or Warlords did. Because it's like, because we're like in a whole new world entirely. You know what I mean?
No, it's just a different continent. On Azeroth.
In Warlords?
Oh, in Warlords. I thought you meant in this one. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
and in this one, we're in yet another undiscovered continent on Azeroth because, like, apparently
we forget
there's
about
a lot of fucking shit that's out there that we just don't know about.
We forget about giant land masses on a regular basis.
Right, we keep rediscovering gigantic land masses that's, like, equal in size to everything we already have, Like, yeah, somehow that was out in the ocean and nobody fucking knew about it. But we definitely sailed ships past it on the reg without noticing it was there.
Right.
So, it seems ridiculous. And this one, I'm like, Demon Hunt, like, the stuff that they're introducing, I'm like, okay. That would have been cool 6 years ago when I cared about this game.
Yeah, that's
I
understand that entirely. I feel like a lot of stuff that's happening in this expansion. There's two things really. The first thing is that a lot of this stuff is stuff I've been wanting for a while, right? So I'm like, yeah, this is stuff that I really wanted, but now you're years too late. On
right,
it. Years too late.
This is like Crocodile Dundee 3.
Right, it's not going to be the same.
Right.
But the other thing about it is that I feel like it's a pretty shameless shit. We're losing subs. Let's just throw the kitchen sink at this expansion sort of grab. Like, let's just get people back into playing the game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be effective too. Like, maybe not for you. I honestly do want to play it. I want to try out Demon Hunters. Well, let's talk about some of the good.
It's always effective on some levels whenever they release a new expansion. They get new subs. They get subs back for like 2 or 3 months, and then it goes back down, and the steady decline starts up again.
I mean, let's be honest. You're gonna play this too, right? So.
Maybe.
You will.
Okay, now I'm not. Fuck you.
Yeah, you will.
No.
Yeah, you will. That's the way it works, man. You can say no all you want. How many times have you said no? A lot. As many as me, at least. I'm just saying, it'll happen.
Okay.
Okay, let's get down to the nitty gritty of the stuff that you're going to be playing later. The first thing is the new hero class, Demon Hunter.
It's a lame grab to like pretend things like making a new hero class just feels desperate at this point. Because they're like, we're never making a new hero class ever again. They said that several times after they released Death Knights.
Yep.
Several times. And now they're like, oh, no, now we need a new hero class again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that tells me where you are, where you're at. We are creatively bankrupt, so we're gonna go back to this well again and hope that we can get a couple more dollars out of it. Okay. Not that interested.
Well, of hero classes, you mean?
With hero classes or with Demon Hunters,
How are they going back to the well with the Demon Hunters? Like
they're going back to the hero class well to be like, look how exciting and look how much better than everyone else can be because you're a hero class.
Yeah, until they nerf you to the ground.
Until they nerf it again, right? So what's the point? Like,
the point is to be as OP as you possibly can for as long as you possibly can.
Like, why didn't they call monks hero class too then?
Because they weren't.
Right.
The monks were never that OP.
Yeah, monks were never that good either. In general, I don't think.
Well,
I mean, good players were good with them, sure, but
I don't know. I can't really comment on that, but I didn't play enough of pandas and monks in general. I leveled a monk, but I was like, it's a monk. I really didn't like the class, so
yeah.
Like personally, from a flavor perspective, I was like, nah. Demon Hunters, on the other hand, seem pretty interesting to me. They have a lot of like fluff as well. The biggest fluff being right here in the unrivaled mobility. Demon Hunters can double jump because that's something that we needed in WoW.
Right. So it's clearly, like, if it's something that you need or that makes you special and gives you access to things that other people can't have access to, they're just going to change everyone else too. So that's fucking retarded.
But I think we know how unimportant this really is because they're only giving it to Demon Hunters, and I bet Demon Hunters are going to be the only class that has it.
Right.
Pretty much at any point because it doesn't matter at all. Like jumping around in combat isn't necessary. It is annoying, but it certainly isn't necessary.
Yeah.
There's not any like serious platforming parts of this game that need double jump.
No, although maybe some people who can't regular jump across lava and stuff like that, like the Thaddeus fight, for instance. Maybe if they had double jump, it wouldn't be such a big deal.
No, they would still just fall into it. They just...
But they could double jump. They might have a better chance, so I'm saying.
Right, but that would require them to press the jump button twice, when most of the time they don't get one jump off. They just fall.
Right. Well, how does double jump work? Can they jump? I mean, they have one air jump, like, into discussion. Like, if they fall, can they still do one air jump? Maybe they could still make it then. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true, maybe.
But at best, it's fluff. And I love how they put it up here like it's one of the, like, unrivaled mobility. Their double jump is going to be so important to their class. I don't believe you.
Well, I mean, I don't like the unrivaled mobility. This is obviously just fluff, but what I am excited about is, number one, they have their tank spec actually looks really cool. But that's not so much what I'm looking forward to, as is, like, the gameplay seems to play a lot like Illidan from Heroes of the Storm, with, dashing and dash throughs that do damage when you dash through people, and they have laser eyeballs. That's cool. I like shooting lasers out my eyes. So, I mean...
okay, yeah, right. But what does that functionally add for me?
What? Functionally? Shooting lasers out of your eyes is pretty fucking functional, dude.
It's pretty fluffy.
It is absolutely fluffy.
It's pretty fluffy. But
I like it.
Functionally, what does it do for me?
And honestly, double jump, I'm not going to lie. I do a lot of jumping in this game. So, is it functional? No, but I will do it a lot.
Right, I'm thinking double jump, that's just going to throw off my fucking spacebar pressing, like, rhythm. It's going to fuck me up and I'll be angry about it all the time.
But I'm actually pretty excited for the class myself. I think it's going to be kind of cool. People have been asking for Demon Hunters for a long time. I've wanted a Demon Hunter for a long time.
Yeah.
So I will go back, even if it is a money grab. I will go back and play it, and they will get some of my money because that is the relationship I have.
Thanks.
With WoW.
Thanks, man. The people who play Destiny also appreciate if you would just go and give them some money as well.
Now, maybe if Destiny had a good game at some point in existence, and built up fond memories for me with it, but instead it just came out the box and punched me right in the mouth.
Just made you sad face the whole time.
Yeah, pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, like Demon Hunters just don't excite me that much. It's just nah.
Well, that's because you're also not a big melee DPS roguey type of person player.
That's fair. But I do a fair amount of tanking, and I just don't.
Well, I mean, you're allowed to not be excited for it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not correct in doing so, but you're allowed.
I think it's interesting that they're only planning on doing 2 specs for it.
Because, as you said last night, the Druid stole one of them.
The Druid stole one of them, right? Because the Druids get 4, but Demon Hunters only get 2. Because, sorry, there's only so much room for code, and Druid stole one of your specs.
Oh, man. But that's like the big class change there is that you're going to be a Demon Hunter. So that's a pretty big deal, and I'm pretty well down with the new class. I really enjoyed the Death Knight, like when you were first started a Death Knight and that little like opening leveling process. It was really cool. So I mean, I'm happy that you're going to get another experience like that. So, yeah. Let's see. Here's some of the screenshots here. It's what a tank Demon Knight might look like. Demon Hunter, rather.
Right. Because, yeah.
DPS one.
The giant horns just look fucking ridiculous.
You don't have to have horns.
Show me a picture where one of them doesn't have horns.
How about if you had actually paid attention and were listened to the announcement, you would know you cannot have horns. Yep. All right. Next one. Wield weapons of unimaginable power.
This is just fucking lazy ass shit. They're giving you fluff to replace them having to do anything.
Okay, that's a terrible argument, but tell me what your thought process is on that.
Okay, so now they're going to give you this artifact weapon that you're going to work for, right? And that's going to be your weapon from like now to forever, right? Or for basically most of this expansion.
Probably, yeah.
Okay. So they're not going to drop new weapons in raids?
Maybe, I don't know.
They're not going to drop new weapons in wherever? You're not going to upgrade this? You know what I mean? Because I'm like, if I'm WoW, I'm like, yeah, we do this. We give them one weapon. We keep letting them make it better and better. And then we don't have to design new weapons. We don't have to design new graphics for them. We don't have to design new stats for them. We don't have to make them interesting or whatever. We can just give them one where they think they look super cool. Because they do. I'm not arguing that they do look super cool. But we give them one where they look super cool, and then we don't have to do any more weapon designs for the rest of this expansion.
Okay.
Cashed out. Cash out.
Things where you're just there's certain points here that I agree with, and there's other points that I disagree with. As far as the models go and being lazy about the models, I think there's going to be more weapon models than there have been before, even though you're basically only using the same weapon. That's because there's a different weapon for each spec, and then each one of those spec weapons will have, as they said, like 15 to 20 variations.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot of model work being done. That will more than so it's not they're not being lazy as far as the modeling goes. As far as the stats goes and what the weapon does it really ever matter that much? Like it used to in the old days of WoW, but does it matter now?
Yes.
No? How? Like you have a two-handed axe that does the same DPS at like a slightly different swing speed than a two-handed sword that does the same DPS at a slightly different swing speed. That isn't interesting or new or different. It's everybody has the same stats now on those weapons for the same specs. You don't get anything Like in the old days of WoW.
But now everyone is literally going to have the same weapon with a different picture on the outside.
Yeah. So what's your point? You couldn't see anybody else's like stats on their weapons anyways. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
It really didn't matter.
But there's a lot of like, I don't know.
There used to be.
I think it's a lame. I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's lame.
I think you're wrong. I think it's amazing.
Right, but you're someone who's always been more about style than substance, so
that
appeals to you.
You keep seeing substance, but you haven't made a single good argument as to what like awesome substance we had before.
I'm not saying they do have good substance. That's why I'm saying I don't play this game right now.
You played it for many years, okay?
Yes, and back then it made a difference. Back then it was like, that guy's got this weapon. That means he went and accomplished some shit.
Okay, you played a bit of Warlords, you played a bit of Mists, you played a bit of Kata, you played every single expansion.
Yes.
Like, after 10 years of playing any one game, you're gonna stop playing it as much, regardless of what happens to it, I think.
Sure.
Like, point is that it, like, the stats and what the different stats, that kind of stopped mattering. It just sort of stopped mattering.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying it should still matter. And I thought they were lazy when they did it in Warlords. They were lazy when they've done, like, I think a lot of stuff they've done lately has been lazy, including most of what they did in Warlords and most of what they changed in Panda. You know what I mean? When they got rid of the talent trees, because it was like, that's too hard for us to figure out how to make them interesting. So we're just going to take them away entirely and tell you that it's more interesting now.
Do you think that was lazy, or do you think that they're like, was the other talent trees more interesting?
I thought so, because you can do some mixing and matching. You could come up with your own spec. Most people didn't. Most people looked online to be told what cookie cutter spec they should follow, and they did that.
I think the mixing and matching is the thing I miss most from the old talent spec. I think if you're specking into any one like talent tree, or like, into one mostly and then partially into another, like most people did, then you're not missing anything with the new system. But if you liked going like, weird numbers into both 2 or 3 different trees, then I can see where you could miss that. And I do kind of miss that, even though generally speaking, it wasn't the best.
I miss people playing their own way, you know what I mean, to a certain extent. Everyone now plays exactly the same way. And if you're not doing it exactly the same way as someone else, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, well,
so I don't.
That is WoW, and to a certain extent, a lot of MMOs.
Right. So, and I think that this is just more like, you're doing it this way. You should have your Ashbringer. You should have this, whatever. It's a cool concept, I suppose, but like, it seems like it's going to be like too easy to acquire because everyone's going to have one. And then the only thing that's going to be special is like, which of the special pictures did I get for my Ashbringer?
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't really mind that. It doesn't really bother me because that's the way this game has been played for the last couple expansions. So you might as well just
and that's why their subs are declining. They're continuing doing stuff that is flash. It's very flashy. It's got a lot of style to it, but there's no substance to it, and so people will come back. The flash will wear off in a month or two, and then they'll unsub again.
Yeah, now you're just like, hey, this is why this is happening, with absolutely nothing to back it up other than your own opinion. That's a little, you're being a little presumptuous, I think. Just a little bit.
You think people are unsubbing for reasons other than the fact that it doesn't have enough substance?
How about it's been out for 10 years? How much do you go back and play games that have been out for 10 years? Even your most favorite ones. How often do you go back and play them?
We're not talking. You can't compare an MMO like World of Warcraft to like Starfleet Academy. A single player like game like that. You can't compare them. That's
Why
10
not?
years old. Also, it's not the same fucking thing. Because
we're not talking about intricacies.
World of Warcraft, it's always changing. That's why now it's got all new shit to it.
It's honestly basically the same game that it always was. There's some of the details are different, but it's basically the same game. The combat isn't any really different.
Okay. So what you're saying is that we're basically making the same argument. They haven't added anything new to it. We're going to come back, find out they haven't added anything new to it, but some flashy shit.
That's all you can do.
And then leave again.
What do you want them to change? This is what you can change. The base coding is always going to be the same. The game is always going to be very similar.
I'm not saying. Well,
I'm just saying the game's been around a long time. I'm not saying everything that they're doing is great. There's a lot of things they've done that I absolutely hate. But I don't think those are the sole reasons why they're losing subs. I think a large reason why they're losing subs is because it's an old game and it looks old and it plays old.
Okay.
I think that's just as much to
so
contribute to that.
All right. I disagree with you, but you can continue to be wrong if you'd like. That's cool.
All I'm saying is we're both going.
Of the Damned. Oh, that thing. How do they call that an X? That's an X. None of the other pictures is that an X.
That's an X.
That's I suppose.
That's not an X.
That's not an X.
That's right. A base. That's an X.
That's an X.
That's a straight up sickle.
That's not an X. That's a scythe.
But I mean, the fact is we're both making claims that we have absolutely no data to back up.
All right. Well, all I can say is this is why I do it and why I believe other people do it as well. I've not gone around individually interviewed everyone who's unsubbed from World of Warcraft.
I mean, I quit.
I have.
I quit WoW. Personally, I quit WoW because it was just old. I didn't when I really quit playing was before Cataclysm, really. I played a little bit during Cataclysm, but I was pretty much I came back for Cataclysm.
Right.
And I quit shortly after that. And so now every expansion comes out, I play a little bit and then I quit again.
God, dude. Their bows also look so ridiculous every time.
Pretty much. They really do.
They're always so
the
fucking
base one I like.
The base one is just as ridiculous.
Why? Because it's super ornate? I don't understand.
No, because how many different direction changes does the stick have? That you're using to pull against or whatever. The handle being completely separate from the outside of the bow region. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
You have the weirdest things that upset you. Really, really do.
I'm saying
it's a high fantasy game, man. That's the point. You make the weapons completely You think what people are walking around in WoW with shoulder patterns like that?
It's sort of a low fantasy game these days, but.
Yeah. But anyways, the point I was just making was that I quit mainly because I was just I played it too much. I burnt myself out on it, and I can't get back into it because no matter how much I want to get back into it, I play for a little bit and I realize that I'm still burnt out on it. And there's a lot of systems they changed that I don't like, but they've never changed anything to the point where I'm like, this is unplayable to me. And I think that probably works.
You can force yourself to do almost anything.
Yeah.
So even if it wasn't playable, I'm saying you could still force yourself to do it.
Why would I force myself to do it?
There's a lot of things I don't know why you do. This would not be the first of them. nor the most surprising.
Well, some of the other things, there's the new continent, which is called the Broken Isles.
Right.
That we're going to be, because we just somehow didn't discover that.
Didn't see it before.
Earlier, yeah. Long forgotten, as they say, for whatever reason. I mean, it's in the lore, and it's there. It's just that since it's not in the game, we just...
Right.
Whatever. Artifact weapons, which we just talked about. Basically, everybody gets a sweet artifact weapon that is basically a weapon that is well known, not always, but is going to be sometimes well known in the World of Warcraft lore, like Ashbringer for Ret Paladins and Doomhammer for Enhancement Shamans. Each spec will get their own sweet artifact weapon, and then they get to customize it and stuff. This is an interesting thing. Class-specific order halls and followers. This is basically what garrisons were in Warlords. You and every other paladin will be the leader of the paladin order.
Yes. The paladin order will have 500,000 leaders.
Right. Of other paladins.
Paladins.
more or less the way it works in the storyline, they're saying that since the Horde and the Alliance just won't cooperate anymore, the different classes and class orders of the world of Azeroth will band together to fight the Legion instead of relying on the governments of the Horde and the Alliance, which is interesting, a little weird, but interesting.
Well, it gives them a chance to like open up and have some actually interesting story or whatever. Like maybe you fight against your own people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe Stormwind rolls down on you guys with like, we don't want you fucking cooperating with the Horde Paladins, so we're going to invade your shit.
Yep.
You know?
I think it does open up the story a little bit more, because that's part of the problem, is that you always have to justify why they're working together.
Right.
And then create some kind of silly tension between the two during the time period. So if they're not. But, let's see. Level cap raised to 110. Okay, here's something that is also interesting. Revamped PvP progression system. Doesn't really say much here. But basically, PvPers get their own special PvP talents, and PvP and gear doesn't matter as much, if hardly at all, actually. Well, according to the developers.
Right.
And that all the talents are now PvP specific talents.
I am in favor of that. So, there's a large change for you.
This is something that should have happened.
They made that changes the game.
This is something that should have happened back in vanilla.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's the way PvP always should have been.
Yeah.
But there are enough people who liked exploiting the way PvP was that they didn't want to change it for fear of making their fans angry and getting everyone to unsub. But now that everyone's unsubbing anyway, fuck it.
Yeah, it's a big change, but it's not. I mean, it's not going to change the way that PvP is played. PvP is still going to be played with in a PvP way. Like, it's still going to be the same basic combat, and that's what I'm talking about when I talk about large changes. Like, this is a pretty big change in the sense that, like, now PvEers won't have to complain about PvE talents being changed because it's too powerful in PvP, and and things vice versa as well. But yeah, it's not going to change the core combat. It's still going to be basically PvP is PvP. So the PvPers don't have to worry about it now.
Yeah. Well, theoretically, nothing's ever going to change the core concept of I kill bad guys.
Well, how you kill bad guys.
If you want to break it down that far, yes, nothing is ever going to change that. You're going to kill bad guys.
No, that's what I'm talking about mostly. I got burnt out in the game, the core gameplay of it. So
I don't believe you, because you just moved on to a different game where you kill bad guys.
In a completely different way? I think it's pretty obvious how they're different. But
is it completely different?
Yeah, it really is.
Okay.
It is completely different, but feel free to not know since you haven't played it. Improved transmogrification system? Okay, whatevs.
Right.
All right, whatever.
Right, all the dodges and raids, blah blah blah. Yes.
Oh, and now you can level boost to 100.
Sweet.
Oh. So that's the WoW stuff. I personally, I'm going to try it out. I probably will only play it for a month or two and then stop, but I'll enjoy it immensely for that month or two. I like a lot of the new zones. That zone's cool right there.
They do have some cool looking new zones. And like I said, the shit they're adding does look cool, but it just looks cool. I don't think it will be cool.
Yeah, it might not be, but then again, you're the eternal pessimist and I'm the eternal optimist, so.
Yeah.
In most cases. However, there's one case that we're going to talk about today where neither one of us were really.
I was gonna say, are you gonna try to accuse me of being an optimist about the Fat Four Stick movie? Because no,
I'm definitely not an optimist about. Yeah, definitely not an optimist about this movie. I'm gonna let you just go off on your tangent first, because this. Let's just say we saw this movie last night. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just start by saying that we saw it last night, and yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, okay, there's one scene where Reed Richards escapes from a building and runs away, and if everyone in the theater had run away too, what we watched might have been acceptable. Okay. What we had seen up to that point was, except it wasn't great. It wasn't great, but it was acceptable as a movie.
Yeah,
but
up to that point.
The last like 20 minutes of that thing was like a gigantic train wreck of where they just threw shit at the screen and was like, here it is. You know what I mean? There's no development. There's no like, oh, let's have this final battle with Doom where we all come together as a team. Like, were they not a team before? Because other than not liking Reed because he took off and because he escaped and no one else managed to, I don't understand why they have differences or beef. You know what I mean? Like fucking Johnny throws a barb at Thing at the end because in the comic books that's what he does. But these two characters have no fucking beef.
No, they don't.
They have no fucking beef. They have no beef. They have nothing whatsoever. There's nothing between the two of them to like, for him to have like thrown that barb at the end. I'm like, what? And let's talk about that. The dialogue at the very end before they throw up the four stick sign at the end, when they're coming up with their team name, the "we need a team name" dialogue, so horrible.
Yeah, it's really terrible.
So like, just so cringy.
Forced and cringy. You know?
You're right, so cringy. It's so bad. But and do we really need to see like one thing? I thought the pacing was too slow. Okay,
it was way too slow.
I don't need to see Reed and Ben as kids hanging out or whatever. I don't need to see them unbelievably. I don't see like, you know, 2 10-year-olds unbelievably hauling around this 1 metric ton fucking transformer. They can't move that thing. Those two kids cannot, not even with the hand trolley can those two move that thing.
Yeah,
they can't move that thing. And then they have this, like, again, just like Deadpool. This was this shot in the 90s? Because they said 2007, but somehow Reed Richards had like 20 N64s all linked up together as the computer system for his fucking device that teleported. I'm like, N64s? Really? Okay, sure, why not? Because no, that's why. I don't know. And then the fucking scene, like, and they skip straight from there to like 7 years later, which is supposedly 2014, because 2007 was the original time frame, right?
Right.
So now it's only 2014.
N64 is not a thing in 2007, but
right. Not even like it's not like the most up to date. It's like shit that thinking about what, mid 90s.
Yeah.
Like again, if they had said this was 1997, I'm on board. Now I'm on board. Now I believe you. 1997, I buy. Okay.
Right.
I believe that he's scheduled, you know, for whatever. I still don't believe he like hooked up 20 N64s in system and made it fucking do anything. Okay, I don't believe that shit for a second. But in 1997, I'd be far more inclined to be like, all right, fine, I'll accept that in your universe. But now I'm like, 2007, where the fuck did he even find 20 N64s at?
Trading zone.
And if he spent all that money buying those N64s, why didn't he just buy in his computer? Did you see his computer?
Yeah.
That shit was straight from 1980.
Yeah, it was a 1980 computer. It was bad.
And Ben Grimm's scene with his parents and his older brother who beats him was like straight out of a 1980s movie. That was like fucking a scene from E.T. or some shit. Like what is going on here in this movie? I don't understand. It feels just weird, thrown together weirdly, and like none of it makes sense. You know what I mean?
They did a lot of like opening. Okay, there's 3 parts to any real story, right? Within a movie, there's like opening the sequence where, okay, this is a thing, like this, for instance, a romance. Okay, boy meets girl. Then there's the courting, and then them getting together as the resolution.
Yeah.
This movie did a lot of the opening scene.
Yeah.
And then going nowhere with it. No middle, no end, no resolution. They just started stuff.
They had a perfectly acceptable, meaningless middle phase where nobody sort of did anything while they were building the device to take them to the next dimension, right?
Right.
Like, I suppose all that's acceptable in a sci-fi movie. Like, they had a bunch of empty dialogue that didn't mean anything. We find out that Sue's only reason to exist in this movie is to recognize patterns, because that's what she does, and she gives us a breakdown of Portishead. By the way, I like Portishead. I'm not saying I don't, but Sue Richards, high school senior Sue Richards, isn't listening to Portishead. Not in 2014. She's not. She's just not. Okay.
The thing is like,
Sue Storm, not Stu Richards. At this point.
Sue Storm, not Richards yet. But
she's not listening to fucking Portishead, bro.
But I'm talking about some of the other like smaller plots, like when Reed gets away from the bad guys, and everybody else, despite their awesome superpowers, don't run away.
Right.
For God knows whatever reason.
Right, because the thing's just like, nah, I'm just gonna chill here, bro. It's cool. I could totally break through these walls and punch my way out of anything, but I'm just gonna chill here and become a shield for the United States Army and just do their work for them.
Right. Because you can get back to normal. And
right.
And so the whole reason why Reed runs away, and they open up with like, okay, when they finally track him down using patterns, they
right. Captain Enthremo.
Yeah, Captain Enthremo. When they finally track him down, they show a scene of him looking into building another machine for transportation so he can figure out what went wrong and how to turn Ben back into normal Ben instead of Mr. Rock thing Ben, right?
Right.
So, and that's the reason why he's been gone for years, because he's been hiding out trying to like figure out how to fix Ben. Well, they capture him, and so you're thinking, okay, they're going to capture him because everyone's very angry with him because he just disappeared. He just ran away and never came back, and they felt all abandoned, even though I don't know why they would feel upset about him escaping captors, but they did.
Right.
So they catch him, and you think there's going to be a scene where he's like, "I was trying to fix you," and it just never happens.
Right.
Like
exactly. There's no explanation scene whatsoever.
There's like they literally skip that middle part of and then they're like, everyone's just okay with him coming. Oh well, you're kind of a dick, but you're back, so it's cool.
Right.
And they did a lot of that, a whole lot of that. They did it with
there was never any confrontation to resolve.
Yeah. They did it with the build-up with Sue Storm and Reed Richards as a romance. They started it, and then it went absolutely nowhere.
Well, that's because they started it poorly.
Yeah,
and they had nowhere to go with it after that.
No,
I don't know. I hear that the original director Josh Trank got let go, like partway through post-production.
Oh, really?
And that they did a whole bunch of reshoots after that. So I think the movie that we've seen is like what was going to be a totally different movie that got recut and smashed back together at the end to be something entirely different.
That makes sense. All that makes sense.
Right, because it looks like the plot, because also Doom has a fucking cape in the Netherworld, in the Nether Zone. Yeah. What the fuck did he get a cape at?
Yeah, who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, who knows? Because his suit was literally fused to him. He had no cloth.
Yeah. But somehow he's got a fucking like cape and hood, so we can have like the classic Doctor Doom look.
Which, by the way, they still fucked up.
Right. Yeah, he looked horrible still. And he was a horrible character. Like, I've read some people who were like, yeah, I thought Dr. Doom was an interesting character. Really? Because he didn't do fucking shit. Like, they're like, yeah, he's like the sort of gamer guy who's like 99% like rebel against the government sort of dude. I'm like, they gave you that in like the least interesting possible ways.
That's not even
and they didn't develop that at all.
That's not even that interesting.
Like, why does he hate the government?
It's just some nerd dude who sits back and doesn't like the government, like most nerd dudes,
right?
That don't do any research and don't actually know anything,
right?
That's all he was. He wasn't interesting at all. Like what he wasn't even interesting. Like if they actually done Doom like Doom is supposed to be done, that would have been interesting, because Doom isn't really evil. He's not nice, and he's willing to do whatever he needs to do to get what he wants, but he only does what he wants because he thinks it is absolutely 100% the best thing for the entire world.
Exactly.
And he's been vindicated in that belief. So in the comic books. So, in the movie, again, they just crap all over who Dr. Doom is.
Right, they always try to make him a generic villain. Like I just don't like the government because I don't like the government because they don't let me do whatever I want to do, blah, 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 whatever. So they molested Doom, but there's some people who think that I was reading a theory online that in the original cut, Reed went back into the Nether Zone by himself with his individual thing. Okay, and had a face-off with Dr. Doom at one point. back then, and that's where Doom got the cape from and stuff like that. And then he comes back to the government people and says, Doom is out there. We got to go stop him. Because there's that one from the original trailer. There's that line, like, I know what's coming. It's Doom.
Yeah.
That was not in the movie.
Well, they really like changed a lot of the lines from the trailer to different parts of the movie. Like, one of my favorite lines from the trailer, one of the things that made me think maybe this movie isn't going to be terrible, maybe was the lines where they're like, okay, we've given you, billions of dollars in research, and you've given us nothing. What's different now? And Franklin Richards, Sue Richards,
Franklin Storm,
sorry, says, Reed Richards, he knows the answers to questions we don't even know to ask. And that's a fantastic, like, one-line character building thing that you can do to really accentuates how smart Reed Richards is.
Yeah.
And they just took that away. They just got rid of it entirely.
Well, that's because they found Reed Richards at a science fair where he was fucking it up.
Why he was at a science fair, who knows? Oh, and let's not forget that he opened up interdimensional travel without even knowing that he opened up interdimensional travel. Like, he's so smart that he had no idea what he was doing.
Right.
It's
silly. It's ridiculous. It's not well done.
Like, how you accidentally open up an interdimensional portal when you think you're just teleporting things to China is really beyond my... as a scientist, that would never happen, I don't think.
I guess, I don't know. Because
I'm not saying I'm a scientist, but I'm thinking if somebody were a scientist.
He doesn't have any way to track it on his CRT monitor with all green on black UI or whatever. He doesn't even have fucking Windows on his computer.
It's true, he doesn't, but...
It's fucking green on black UI somehow. Like, that's horseshit. It's 2007. There's no way he's operating on that fucking computer.
Yeah, they just... I don't know. This movie had very little actual direction, and the little bit of direction it had was bad. The acting, like, Reed Richards, whoever that guy is,
terrible. Miles Teller.
Super bad.
I did not appreciate his work either. I thought Kate Mara wasn't horrible.
I think Kate Mara was the best.
But I would say I could be biased just because I think she's cute. So
no, she was the best actor, whatever you want to say, in the movie, hands down. I think. Yeah. The guy who played Johnny Storm didn't do bad. I liked him a lot too.
I thought that he and his dad had zero fucking chemistry.
I would agree with you there.
That did not seem. That seemed like forced. Like, I'm like, this is like the most obvious. We are obviously actors acting that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the obviously, like, the cliche lines and everything. You could do so much more with your life. Blah blah blah. Like, well, how can he? Why can he? How do we know that he's super smart? We don't know that he's smart. We just know that
he's smart because he said they told you.
Right. Well, fucking show me why.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's not his fault. That's the line's fault, I think.
Fair enough. But I think they didn't have any chemistry at all. And, like, he and Sue had a little bit better chemistry, but you had one scene where they sort of interacted as, like, adopted sister and brother.
But it was a good scene. It was a good scene.
But it was, like, 2 seconds long.
I know.
And there was a collection of, like, 2-second long scenes that didn't go anywhere.
Right.
And most of them didn't even have that much depth to them. Like, that one was the best one, I think.
Yeah, again, that's another scene that was started where they're like, this is the type of relationship that Sue Storm and Johnny Storm have, and now we're not going to do anything with it.
Right. Oh, we're not even gonna finish the scene. We're not even gonna, like, really show you how they are.
You're not going to explore it anymore. Well, and I'm fine with them not showing it right there and then. But they didn't do anything with it in the future either. You get a good idea of kind of what their relationship is like, and like, oh, cool, this is going to be an interesting scene between the two of them later, and it's not, because they just decide that any more character development is unnecessary in this movie.
Right.
Ben Grimm had no character development at all.
Right. He was practically not even in this fucking movie.
Like, it was...
Like Ben's like he's the poor kid whose mom whose older brother beats him up or whatever, lives in a, he lives straight out of an 80s fucking movie about abuse.
An 80s, yeah, he lives in a junkyard.
Right?
I mean, it's so 80s. Oh man, it's so 80s.
It's ridiculously 80s, and I'm like, it's 2007 there still. Like it's like they're not. Ben's on a time warp somewhere,
right?
Where it's the 80s. Because like that
man.
could have been like some fucking batteries not included shit going on.
Yeah.
Like seriously, that's the sort of like, I mean, look, people, child abuse is evolved. Mostly, it's about neglect now. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you want to identify with your audience, you got to show them neglect. Parents who don't care about their kids.
Which, I mean, they tried. I'm not gonna say tried. What's a better word? Which I think they accomplished with Reed and him talking about, well, my parents just don't understand me,
Right.
But they don't ever show that relationship.
No, they don't. They don't ever show like Reed going in and talking to his like. Give me the cliche scene of Reed being so excited about what he did and going in and talking to his mom, who's like, "I'm too busy for you. Get the fuck out of my kitchen. I'm busy, servicing your stepdad or whatever."
Yeah.
There's nothing like that.
Yeah, and instead, they decided to make that relationship between him and his shitty teacher.
Right. Who was like just fucking horrible for no goddamn reason.
Yeah.
That's the magic trick. There's no real science here.
Like, you're his fucking teacher. Like, I understand maybe you're a shitty person, but you've got to understand that this kid is obviously brilliant.
Right. Like, well, I don't know. In the opening scene, to the teacher's credit, the assignment was to have a career, and I want to build a teleporter is not a career.
Well, I want to be a scientist who builds a teleporter. That's a career.
That's a career, but that's not what he said. He said, "I want to build a teleporter."
I think to
be honest, that's not a career. But I love that his thing was like, that's not a real career for the real world. Not like the guy who went before you who wants to be Eli fucking Manning. That's not a real fucking career either. Not for 99% of the people. So tell that kid he has to redo the assignment and come up with a real job. Say, I want to work at fucking, Wells Fargo in an office somewhere my whole life.
Right. It was just...
Looking for someone with a real fucking career. The dialogue was bad.
Terrible. This whole movie was just so bad. It was...
Hurt my feelings. And it was like stuff, it could have been okay.
Yeah.
Like it could have been very average, and I would not have hated it.
Yeah.
The
action was bad. Another random thing.
The action that they like alluded to a possibility was pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the action they alluded to. Yeah.
Yes.
That action would have been awesome.
Right.
Right.
Like I love the fact that like Johnny throws some fireballs and Sue makes them fucking invisible so that Doom can't see them coming. Okay, that's some cool shit. That's some good teamwork shit, that we don't see a lot of in the team movies even.
Right.
Because even in the Avengers, you see a lot of Thor fighting some dudes and this guy fighting some dudes. You see some team scenes or whatever, and that's what I want to see, really. Let's see the conglomeration of your powers working together. And Sue makes fucking the Thing invisible for a while. And she goes and, so that he can like charge over and punch Dr. Doom in the face.
Man, it was bad though. It was The action was bad. One of my favorite like inconsistencies so far in this movie is when they travel through the giant suction portal in the sky that is just Doom like makes with his fucking mind and rocks. Right. She flies in through the portal, right? She's coming down towards the planet, and she has to ask Johnny to move her so they don't fall into the big force field. That's gonna like dissolve them, right? Right. And then like later on, she's just flying around like it's no big deal, like in whatever direction she wants.
We saw her moving around in different directions the whole time before.
Right, but suddenly like she can't do it. She needs Johnny's help to like push her out
now.
Of the way.
She needs Johnny to push him out of the way. Yeah.
Just a lot of inconsistencies with powers. A lot of inconsistencies in general.
Well, and how do they survive on this other planet now?
Oh yeah, because they don't have suits on.
They don't have space suits on anymore. So how are they okay?
I mean, the only person you can maybe make arguments for of the four of them are Johnny Storm as a flaming human on fire, and maybe Ben Grimm as the thing.
Right.
Oh, and by the way. You were talking about this earlier when Johnny Storm takes a jab at Ben Grimm at the end, which is the only time he ever does it because Ben Grimm is literally never ever there except for like
That's what I'm saying. Like they got no beef.
They've not.
Why do they have? Why is he throw that jab at Ben Crib for? I mean, in the comic books, it's there.
Yeah.
But they have a developed, established relationship in the comic books.
Right. In the comic books, that relationship is there. But it is not there in this movie. On top of that, in that context of not having that sort of a relationship, it was fucking mean.
Right?
That comment was mean and entirely unnecessary.
Right. It wasn't like a friendly jab, like we're really buddies, but I'm taking this. Like, that was a straight up dick move.
Yeah, you're a thing and nobody wants you.
Right.
Holy
that
fuck,
was
Johnny.
A straight up dick move. Like,
that's mean, dude.
Right. If I were, I'd let him kick his ass, man. You gotta let him kick his ass, bro. Reed, if you're really Ben's friend, you gotta let him fight.
Also, I'm not a real big fan of them like all being high school age. Johnny was younger than the rest of them. And
that needs to be a thing, I think.
That needs to be a thing, and it's not a thing here, and it just it screws up the relationship between who Ben Grimm is and who Johnny Storm is at its core. Right. Because
it really does.
Part of the reason why they clashed so much was because they didn't understand each other's generations.
Right.
They were too far removed from each other age-wise to like really get each other. All Ben saw was this upstart, mouthy young kid who was a hotshot and irresponsible.
Right.
And meanwhile, all Johnny saw was some old fart who, wasn't cool. And they clashed a lot because of that.
Right. Yeah, and that made sense. But here it's just two equals, essentially. Yeah. And one of them is just a dick. Yeah, because his dad's rich and smart, and Ben's dad owns a fucking, like, seriously, that's the only thing we got, right? Is that, like, Ben's family's kind of poor, just Johnny's family's kind of rich, so let's make fun of the poor kid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else. Not that they set that up, that was a thing even.
No,
I mean, if they set that up earlier, whatever, but they didn't even set that up.
They didn't set it up. He gave
this comment out of the blue for no reason or purpose whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's like, let's be dicks. I'm like, let's make Johnny a dick. Okay. Do we need to for any reason? And the whole, like, they come together and learn to fight as a team scene was just not. It was a resolution to nothing. There was no issue, really.
Yeah.
It was just bad. And let's just stop doing Fantastic Four origin story.
Yeah.
Let's just stop doing that.
Yeah. Because
it's not working.
I think let's stop doing Fantastic Four movies altogether. Just quit it.
All right. I'm okay with that. But we need to find a different way to get Dr. Doom back into the universe. Dr. Doom.
No. My point here is that they need to stop doing Fantastic Four movies because all of it's bad all the time. Let's not put Dr. Doom in the Marvel Universe if you're just going to screw it up. Just don't do it.
No, I agree with you. And interesting story here for you. Mm-hmm. In the backgrounds a while ago, Marvel saw that the Daredevil rights, because Fox used to own Daredevil as well, or Warner Brothers, whoever does this Fantastic Four nonsense movie, I think it's Warner Brothers, used to own the rights to Daredevil as well, right?
Fox. If you look at the bottom right of the picture there, it's 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, 20th Century. Okay, so Fox used to own the rights to Daredevil also. Mm-hmm. And when the rights to Daredevil came up, like, so we were going to lapse, they offered Fox, like, hey, if you give us back, like, Silver Surfer and Galactus and Dr. Doom, we'll let you keep Daredevil. It'll be cool. And Fox was like, nah, we'd like to keep those other people. And you can have Daredevil back. Well, so they took Daredevil back and made it into a very good Netflix series.
Yeah, much better than
Fox
this movie.
Released another shitty Fantastic Four movie that will not make them money.
I hope they lose their ass on this, and I'm really sad I gave it money, but I have to do it for the cast. I do it for you guys. Right. I make Fox richer for you guys. That makes you guys evil and terrible people.
Yes.
Passing the buck. That's how we do it.
Yep. That's how it's done best, man.
Yeah, that's how it's done best. I don't know. That's about it for me, man. I don't really want to keep dwelling on the fact that
there's nothing else to do on this.
Yeah, it's terrible. Honestly, don't bother. Like, just don't bother.
Well, certainly don't pay money for it. Like, steal it later when it comes out.
I'm not sure if it's worth it.
Do they do screeners for the Razzies? I wonder if
I don't know.
I kind of doubt that they do, but because, like, dude, honestly, I thought maybe like Pixels was going to be the worst movie of this year, but Fan Four Stick might take the cake.
I hear Pixels is pretty bad too.
I hear Pixels is pretty bad, like, and I haven't bothered to see that one yet. So
Me either.
I will steal that one at some point, but because I hear it's bad enough that I'm like, all right, I have to see this shit for myself. A lot of things I see. One thing I want to say that I see a lot of people complaining about the Reed Richards face morphing scene.
Why?
I don't know. I don't get it. A lot of people were like, that scene was so horrible and so bad. I was like, was it?
It was one of the better scenes in the entire friggin' movie.
That's what I thought.
And it was still bad. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But
it wasn't an atrocity against mankind.
Right. It wasn't good. Just one of the better ones. Not a good scene. Just one of the better ones.
Right. Well, and the whole, like, I don't know, so many plot lines just not even fleshed out, just alluded to. This was a great allusion to a movie that still managed to be 2 fucking hours long.
Yeah, it's like a 2-hour-long trailer.
Right.
But worse in a lot of ways. It's right up there with what is that? Jumper.
Yep. Jumper, where they allude to there being a storyline, but never actually tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the same way where they allude that there's a story happening, but we're not going to watch that part.
Right.
We're going to watch all the non-story parts in between.
Oh my gosh. You know that scene in that one movie where the guy goes to take a drink of water? That's this entire movie. If the guy just takes a drink of water.
Yep. And referencing 90s shit. Like, right. Seriously. And I get that, like, okay, when you're a director, like, you want to shoot scenes that you know. Like, this is what my childhood was like. But you can't make, like... Are you eating something?
Playing with foil. Go ahead.
But if you're like, you know... But you can't set your movie in 2007 and have a 90s childhood.
Yeah, just if you want to make it in the night, just make it in the 90s. Doesn't matter. Like the time period of the movie really doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Right? Set it 97. Don't set it 2007. Set it 97. Now they're graduating in 2004. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But it was just like, yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to see the Josh Trank version that before he got cut out in post-production, like the one he actually made.
Yeah. I wonder why he got fired, actually.
And I also want to see the Roger Corman one that got made. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
Yeah, like this was back in like 97 or something like that. Like Fox was going to lose the rights to Fantastic Four if they didn't make a movie or whatever. If they didn't do something with the rights. Uh-huh. So they literally hired some actors, put together a film, and shot a film that was never going to be released just so they could keep the rights.
Wow.
And so it exists. It's out there. Like, some people have copies of it some places or whatever, but it was like literally all shot to just be shelved on a shelf and put away forever so they could say they made a movie with it and keep the rights.
Wow.
Which is crazy, right? And I kind of want to see it. It's going to be just awful.
Like, just give up I guess they just don't care about what they produce. Like, we're going to produce crap and you're going to watch it and it's going to make money and we're going to be happy with that.
Right.
But, all right. Well, anything else to add or any other subjects you want to cover before we close out?
Let me see if I got any. Okay, that's like the third time and it's dumped me now, and I went right back in. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know. You cut out a little bit. I think it's your internet, sir.
It probably is our internet. I don't know what the deal is with it. Yeah, I think that's all I really got. Like, not really much else going on right now. No. Can we get a new Star Wars trailer already? It's August, guys.
It's time. It is time for a new Star Wars
trailer. Like, every time the Lucasfilm comes up, I get, this is a new one? This is a new one? Nope. Same one I've already seen.
Nope.
Metal Hand Luke. Yep. Okay. Nope. Already seen this trailer before.
Yeah. I don't know. This coming fall, we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about, and I mean, later on this month, we'll have the Hearthstone release. So I'm gonna see if I can't get Fiona on next week to come podcast with us.
Okay.
About the cards, because next week we'll have more cards, and the week after that we'll have the release. So
yeah.
So we'll have more Hearthstone stuff to cover, and then then comes September, and then we all just sit around and twiddle our thumbs for a month until November comes out with all the awesome stuff.
Right.
So, yep.
What else? I was thinking something else. Nope.
Can't think of anything.
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I was thinking about something and you started talking, and I was like, and then now I don't know.
Sorry.
So, no, it's cool. We're good.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us again today. Don't go see Fantastic Four. Let us know what you think about the WoW expansion, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, it's like seriously, like it's Amazing Spider-Man too bad.
I'd say it's worse. Don't watch it.
Yeah.